Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when Bill breaks your bowl of buffalo chicken dip. Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
It's just a great conference that is at a point right now where I think clearly the best group of 5 conference in the country.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
And we got to continue to showcase what our league is about.
This league is insane.
Yeah, it might be like one of those 8 wonders of the world.
And you can see just what a great group of 5 conference it really is.
It's a big deal.
Boy, life is looking pretty good in the Sunbelt these days.
Very excited about the Sun Belt.
We started the Sun Belt back in '76, and I'm very proud of what has transpired through the years.
You know, while other conferences have been breaking up, our conference has become stronger.
Edit that out, Dusty.
Well, you know, we're getting better. You know, I think the Sun Belt's, I've been a part of it for a long time. I think the Sun Belt's really good. I just don't think there's any easy games. And so, you know, you just got to keep trying to get better every game. And I think you just got to take it one game at a time. I think you got to try to get on a run and stack some wins together. We've struggled in our last 5 and that we've lost some heartbreakers. We got to start stacking some wins together to, you know, for a seed in that tournament where I think we could be a really dangerous team if we're healthy and playing the right way.
There's the words from UTA head coach Greg Young saying they have to be playing well, playing healthy down the stretch as the second half of Sunbelt basketball begins. Welcome into another FunBelt podcast. This is Dusty Thibodeaux, Warhawk Report. Joining me is Jeremy Harper from HowlRaiser.com. Jeremy, how goes as we get ready for the second half of basketball season?
Well, you know, that's a good quote from UTA, but it seems like it could apply to every single team. I was looking at the standings, Dusty Thibodeaux, and I've projected that maybe 83% of the Sun Belt could win the Sun Belt tournament and go on to the NCAA tournament this year.
Are you implying there's some teams already mathematically eliminated from ever being able to compete?
I think there are 2 teams that don't quite cut the mustard.
And those teams are?
Well, one's Little Rock. And I'll tell you why. I don't feel like they just have enough bodies. I was watching them play Appalachian State. They gave the Mountaineers a pretty good run. They just didn't have enough guys. You know, they couldn't get guys off the bench to be productive. They just didn't have it there. So I just don't think UA Little Rock has the juice to do much in the tournament. And the other team, I hate to say this, Dusty, I'm a little worried about your Warhawks, man.
We'll be fine. We're like a phoenix.
I don't know what's going on with you Warhawks. You've got some dudes. I don't know what's happening.
We saw it this weekend against Georgia Southern even. You finally get all the players back from COVID, and then Gonzalez goes out with a knee injury because he banged knees with one of the Eagles players.
Yeah.
So they're back to having no point guard. It's one thing after another. And like I said last week in the podcast, we always talk about the curse of Chief Brave Spirit, the former Indian mascot there of ULM, and how he just seems to curse and hate the Warhawks. I think he's still pissed, and he is letting the vengeance be known.
You know who I came away really impressed with during this weekend of basketball?
The fact that I went to Texas State?
No, I came away really impressed with Appalachian State.
But here's the deal.
Yeah.
Name a Mountaineer player, Jeremy.
Justin Forrest.
You're doing better than me. I couldn't have even done that for you.
Oh, that's because the Red Wolves just played them.
You're also a lot faster at Google typing.
No, here's the thing about, and they've got this guy named Delph, who's one of the leading scorers. Although A-State did a pretty good job with neutralizing him. You know that commercial where it's the fisherman and he's got like $1 bill on the end of his line and he's taunting the lady in the purse store about getting the $1 bill?
Yeah.
And he says like things like, oh, so close, so close.
Yeah,
you know
got to be quicker than that.
That's kind of how the Appalachian State basketball team plays. It's like you get to a point where you finally kind of crack the defense a little bit and you start picking up steam, and it looks like your team is maybe going to take the lead. You can just kind of feel it. And then suddenly, like this Justin Forrest or this Delph guy or any one of their bigs that they have down there will put up a dunk or a three-pointer, and then suddenly you're just down by 6 again. And then you got to contend with this stifling, efficient, disciplined defense that you just can't penetrate. And I saw it happen with the Red Wolves. And then I saw it again with UA Little Rock. Now, UA Little Rock, they played a good game. They would get close. It looked like they were coming up. You know, the crowd was kind of shifting a little bit in their seats. And then Forrest would nail a three-pointer. Or somebody would come in with a big steal or a turnover. That's just kind of how they play. It's like they almost play with sort of minimum effort to win. They're just going to say, all right, we're going to put up just enough points to beat you.
Yeah, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
They swept the Arkansas schools this past weekend.
Yeah.
Beating Arkansas State, beating Arkansas Little Rock.
Yeah.
Despite the man, the myth, the legend of Norchad O'Meara having his 9th straight double-double.
Yeah, he had 2 double-doubles over the weekend, but against Appalachian State, he had like the most limited double-double you can have, 10 rebounds, 11 points.
And that last rebound was kind of a trash rebound there in the last seconds of the game.
It's sort of a bonus rebound. It's like a bone that was tossed to Norchad O'Meara. But give credit to Appalachian State. Yes, do they have superstars on that team? Maybe they should. They don't seem like it, but maybe they should have superstars. The crowd there was outstanding. Something like 3,000 fans per game. Hand it to Appalachian State. You know, I would call them the FunBelt tournament winners from last year, almost like sort of a sneer. But these guys could really win the FunBelt title outright. And it would be very hard for anyone else to kind of keep up with them. They've played more games than anyone.
8-2 right now, and even on the women's side, sitting at 5-1.
I think
it's a head scratcher. They're dominating the hardwood on both sides.
It's sneaky. You know, you always talk about Georgia State. You always talk about the Cajuns. You always talk about South Alabama, but it's really Appalachian State who's bringing it on.
And as little as we know about App State, we have somebody that can break it down for us. He covers App State for App State Sports Network. That is our buddy Jacob, who is joining us. Welcome in there, Jacob. Tell us, what is the deal with these Mountaineers that nobody's talking about, but everybody should?
First of all, I just want to make sure it's known I'm not part of App State. I do this for myself and stuff. So I just want to get that clear. I don't want to get App State calling me like, you stop saying I'm not affiliated with App State. Golly bum, I'm surprised. Let's just say that. Wayne, after we won the Sunbelt title last year, which no App fan ever thought we would do, I was like, okay, that maybe would just been lucky. We played our non-conference schedule, but we played some of the toughest teams: Duke, UNC, Vermont, all these schools you hear of, and we have one of the toughest schedules, non-conference schedules in the Sun Belt. We come into Sun Belt play, we lose to Louisiana. I'm like, okay. Then we come back, we start just not demolishing, but our defense and our offense, just every game is getting better. Our defense, and I'm going to say, I strongly believe this is true. We have one of the best, most physical defenses in the Sun Belt. We play up tight, up their face. We can double team. And just like you were talking about Arkansas State and Little Rock, two of their bigs down low that scored the most points in double doubles, App State held them to minimal. Their defense pretty much shielded them from having, if those two players that were playing for one for Arkansas State, one Law, were active, one of the best players, and like were able to do it. But App State's defense shut them down. And that's what kind of like, when we come so close, we just have daggers. We just come back. We just don't stop. Texas State and UTA, Arlington away, are going to be our two toughest tests. And if we can beat them both, I feel confident saying we can win the tournament.
Winning games on the road is the tough thing to do in the Sun Belt. And having to face Texas State and UTA, which at times has played really well, will be a great test. Dusty, he keeps kind of pretending that he never gave any credence to Appalachian State. But of the three of us on this show, Dusty has always been the one that has said, well, what about Appalachian State? And we kind of go, oh, they're the defending champions, but are they really in position to do much? And Dusty always seemed to have an understanding that there was something about Appalachian State that was going to be good. And seeing them, not in person, but finally seeing them in action on TV against the Red Wolves really did tell me what kind of team it is. Tell me, what do you think is the defensive philosophy that's driving Appalachian State that makes them? I mean, what right now? I think they're holding not just their opponents to the fewest points in the Sun Belt, but I believe they're in the top 25 for fewest points in the NCAA. What is it about them specifically in your mind that drives that defense?
Great question. Our defense is just, what drives them is Coach Kern, one of the best coaches I know. He gets animated, but also what drives us is pretty much we have a chip on the shoulder. That's by the fact that we want to prove to show that we're not flipped from last year and that we have talent. And we are not just a one-year wonder like Coastal was in football.
All this on the men's side. What about the women's side? And what has been the secret to the sauce of the success of the women's basketball side?
When we beat Louisiana, we were missing our three best players. We beat Louisiana. We beat all these other schools that are really tough. And, I mean, Coach Angel Erickson, she's one of my favorite coaches. She's been there for a while, and she's been building this team up for years. I feel like she got her recruits and she wanted, and it's amazing.
Well, Jacob, we know that App State's leading the league right now on both sides, so we'll see how the second half plays off. We thank you very much for joining us and look forward to seeing how they are down the stretch.
Yes, guys. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Thank you, guys.
Well, guys, we heard all about Appalachian State. As you know, I made the pilgrimage again, to see our friends, the Boobcats, as they took on UTA to kick off the second half of the season there.
Now, Dusty, it seems to me that you are kind of transmogrifying into a Boobcat. Is this true? You're not ditching ULM for Texas State, are you?
Maybe I'm losing my golden touch and going straight maroon there for the good old Boobcats. It was great, man. It was got to talk to TJ Johnson, Terrence Johnson, their head coach, post game. Had a great quote from him during the game. Got to hang out and talk to head football coach Jake Spatterford. He's excited about this season, but knows that the pressure's on him. There's a lot going on in Texas State, guys.
And well, it should. That's a great university. It's about time that they start stepping up. Now, you have to admit, though, this basketball season, a little disappointing right now.
They have not lived up to being the regular season champs that they had last year. Did see hanging in the rafters, they had their banner already there. Plenty of room to add a 2022 mark to it.
Sure.
But so far, it seems like it's the Mountaineers to lose at this point.
But you know what? I was looking at the standings. I was watching that South Alabama Troy game. Did any of you catch that? Ben, did you catch any of that?
I did not, but I did see the many post videos of the belt snatched back by the Trojans faithful there. So we know we were talking about rivalries a little bit earlier. That's tremendous and one of the hottest certainly in the league.
Oh, yeah. Those two teams were going at it. And at one point, Troy had a 20-point lead. And, it was kind of one of those moments where the game seemed on ice. And for whatever reason, South Alabama was just not shooting very well. I think partly it's because there are a bunch of transfer guys that just haven't played together very, very often. But they ended up cutting that to a single-digit lead at the end. So there's something dangerous about South Alabama. Those guys can pour on points when they want to. But I thought Troy and South Alabama both looked pretty good as teams. So I think they're 2 games back. Both of them are right now. Arkansas State, a game and a half, and then Appalachian State on top right now. I think Texas State is just sort of, I think, 2.5 games back.
Yeah, 2.5 games back. And as I mentioned, great quote from Coach TJ following the game and kind of how his team attacked UTA.
Yeah, we play ugly. Yeah, we're not the cute team. People don't want to play cute teams, and what I mean by we play ugly, we do the things to you that you don't want done to you. We want to pressure you, all right? We want you to feel us, all right? We want you to accept all things that we're going to give you. So when I was a child, if I didn't want the medicine, my mother used to pinch my cheeks. And when she pinched my cheeks, she forced my mouth to open. So what we did tonight was we started settling early on in the game, and then we said we're not going to do that. All right, we're going to continue to press on. All right, so we shoot inside-out threes, and if we can shoot inside-out threes, we can make a few of them. All right, and then we're going to press up the whole game. All right, we're not going to fall back. That's the most aggressive defensively that we've played full court since I started coaching here. I'm okay with ugly because all W's look the same.
Oh my God, some of that was pretty graphic.
Well, I mean, looking at the game and how physical it was, they definitely took it to, however you want to interpret that, to the Mavs during that game.
I was watching that game, and at one point it looked like, I think early in the second quarter, it looked like UTA had the game. They were making shots. I think they had a double-digit lead at one point. Everything was coming easy for Azor. It just seemed to be like it was the Mavericks' game to win. And then something happened. Like Texas State just flipped on the switch. Asbury started hitting those threes. They started getting into the post. What a great game for you to be at.
It was great. I appreciate the halftime retiring of my jersey there and giving the speech there that flipped the switch for our infamous Boobcats to be able to pick up that win on Saturday afternoon. A team that didn't get a win this past weekend, though, was Coastal Carolina, as they took the sweep. It was announced, though, that head coach Cliff Ellis was going to miss the weekend after testing positive for COVID. Found on Twitter something I didn't even know. He's the Cal Ripken of D1 college basketball. He had coached 1,346 consecutive games spanning his time at South Alabama, Clemson, Auburn, and Coastal Carolina before he missed his first career game on Thursday night.
Damn, college basketball's Iron Man. Wow. Did not know that.
Jeremy, I don't think you even work that many days in a row, do you?
No, hell no. Hell no. No, you know what? Coastal Carolina, they're having a great season. Yeah, and you can tell they were probably missing old Cliff at the end of the game when Arkansas State ended up coming back from the end of that. Did they beat UA Little Rock? I thought they beat Little Rock.
Yeah, they split this weekend.
They split the weekend. Okay, yeah. Don't give them their due, Dusty. They beat Little Rock. You don't want anybody thinking that Little Rock came away with a win. I mean, that's just embarrassing.
I'm just knowing that and waiting for Ben to say, hey, what happened to your Warhawks there against the Panthers?
I know, we're just kind of dancing around that. We're not really addressing the hippopotamus in the room right now. But Ben, it seems to me that maybe the Panthers might have finally found some of their moxie this weekend.
They certainly figured out how to win a couple games in a row, so that was good. I think the interesting, certainly starting with the rival, and don't get it twisted. Louisiana and Georgia State cannot stand each other from the old days from Ron Hunter and Bob Marlin. From reading some of the post-game comments and things like that, the folks, certainly natives and Lafayette, are not real happy with Bobby Marlin and especially them blowing another game last night to Georgia Southern as well. Things are not great there. But, yeah, the Panthers, starting to pick it up a little bit. You're starting to see some of those seniors play a little bit better. What's been so wild is this team, especially their seniors, their splits on the road versus at home. Some of their seniors are out shooting the ball very well. Corey Allen had a very good night against ULM, and they're one of the best teams in the nation in turning the other team over. And that's been kind of what has steadied this team and allowed it to be close. Now you need some of that shooting percentage to continue to surge, and still didn't shoot great on Thursday night against Louisiana. Defense certainly led the day, and again yesterday. So it's definitely solid to get back in the win column. And now the Panthers have to reload quickly. They've got Troy and South Alabama, who we just talked about, who are both coming off wins in the last few days. Those are big games. Obviously, if the Panthers want to continue to climb up the standings and get an opportunity to live up to their loftier rankings, they're going to have to do it. And starting this weekend against Troy.
So what happened to ULM, Dusty Thibodeaux?
Against Georgia State? Well, They opened up a 4-0 lead, and then just Georgia State just kind of took over. Like I had mentioned earlier, I think that the lack of having a true point guard with Elijah Gonzalez going out again, just the Warhawks don't have anybody to bring the ball down. They're forcing too many shots. It's just not good basketball right now.
For Louisiana, not only to take it on the chin against Georgia State, which has struggled, but to not also lose to Georgia Southern, who has really struggled this year. What's going on with the Cajuns?
I did not like that Georgia Southern team. I did not see anything that really jumped out about them. I thought that they played a little physical, but other than that, I didn't think that they played very good basketball. So it was kind of surprising to see that they were able to get that sweep in Louisiana as they did.
What was it that brought Georgia State over Louisiana? What was the key? You were talking about turnovers, Ben, and getting the shooting percentage back up. But why is it that Georgia State can get these 2 wins on the road in 2 very tough places, but seem to have so much trouble at home?
I really don't know. It's wild, right? You're supposed to, kind of the school of thought is that your team is more comfortable sleeping in their own bed, shooting in their own gym where they play. Even the role players, some of the guys off the bench traditionally typically play a little bit better at home than they do on the road. We haven't had that happen in the last few weeks. The Panthers are still without one of their backup point guard, Evan Johnson, due to the COVID protocols. He missed the road trip down there to Louisiana. The guy averages about 6.5 points per game and can hit from the outside. They're still having some guys that are struggling to shoot the basketball, but you've seen certainly the energy improve in a tremendous amount with Eliel Sasemi, the all Sunbelt big man, with another double-double, and at points was dominant this weekend, looking pretty strong. So I think things are slowly but surely starting to come together for the Panthers. But as you guys mentioned, the Cajuns are finding ways to lose. I'm looking at the box now, and Georgia Southern turned the ball over 23 times and shot 7 for 20 from 3. And somehow, some way, they still found a way out of the Cajun Dome with a dub.
Yeah, it's so hard to come out of the Cajun Dome with a victory and to see that happen, not just against Georgia State, who has struggled, although we know they're talented, but against Georgia Southern, who I didn't feel is I think I agree with Thibodeaux. They're just not very impressive. And they came away with the win, too. So there's something going on with the Cajuns. Before you got on, Ben, I was talking to Tibbs about overall the basketball landscape for the Sun Belt, for the men's basketball landscape. And I'm judging that there's about 10 teams that could win that Sun Belt tournament. What do you think? Earlier in the season, you said you thought it was pretty top heavy. You thought there were 6 teams that were good and 6 teams that were bad. Now that we've played about half the conference schedule, do you think that, do you want to kind of take another step and take another look at that? Or do you still feel like it's sort of a half and half conference?
Well, I don't think, I think it may be, I think maybe less top heavy, because I think we talked about Louisiana was certainly a team that I had kind of penciled in as one of the teams that was going to kind of separate itself, be at the top tier, and it just hasn't happened for a variety of different reasons. And I think the toughest part about some of these teams, we really don't know, week to week, weekend to weekend, what they're going to bring to the table. And I think some inconsistencies, as we've seen, haven't really been able to see who's at the top. And credit again to App State and Arkansas State, South Alabama, for kind of guiding that way and being at the top of the standings. I'm very interested to see, as I mentioned earlier, between South Alabama and Troy when they make the Georgia trips, because those are, you have a potential separator there. I know App State goes and does the Texas trip, as does Coastal Carolina. So we could see even more separation potentially there at the top, or is someone actually going to knock off the Mountaineers? I think I agree with you. I mean, it's about as wide open a tournament as I can remember, really, since certainly Georgia State joined the league in 2013, 2014 season. So I think it's good for the league. I think there's great chances for upsets. We've already seen the games are ridiculously close, and it seems like from night to night, you seem to have a 1 point or game-winning buzzer beater or layup opportunity to knock teams off. So I think that's certainly something that will continue to be strong and will be must watch as we hit the stretch and February is upon us.
All the talk about basketball, though, guys.
Yeah,
we're coming up on spring football, and while our next guest will not be partaking in spring football per se, he just took part in the Hula Bowl, which is one of the many college all-star games that are out there as guys try to jockey to get ready for the NFL draft and make a name for themselves. Former ULM defensive end Ty Shelby, he's a two-time Sun Belt honorable mention. In addition to that, he played 30 games for the Warhawks on basketball. So we welcome in Ty to talk about getting ready to make a name for himself as he prepares for the NFL draft.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Ty, how are you?
I'm doing good.
So, Ty, take us back. How did the invitation go out for the Hula Bowl, and kind of talk about that experience as you got to go down there and really perform for some NFL scouts, as well as play with some other Sun Belt Conference members there with Levi Lewis, Roger Carter on from Georgia State as well.
I got the invite. It was right after the Lafayette game. It was that Sunday. I just got a random call, and they hit me up about playing the Hula Bowl. And, I wanted to see, how I was feeling afterwards. I was a little beat up, but I thought about it, talked about it with my family, and decided it was a great opportunity to, showcase my talent. We got there about, I think it was January 10th, we reported. And I'll say it was a great opportunity, really. We got to showcase our abilities in front of, I think it was about over 140 NFL scouts there. Nice. I got to showcase my talent in front of other competitive guys, University of Miami, North Carolina, a whole bunch of guys that actually had, different abilities instead of playing just in the Sun Belt. And so really it was a great opportunity. Got to talk to a lot of NFL teams that seemed very interested and see where this path takes me.
No, but seriously, how was it to go in January to have some time in Hawaii and not only have that sort of NFL scout experience, but also to go to some place as cool as Hawaii?
Well, no, Jeremy, they removed it from Hawaii. It's now in Orlando, so he didn't even get to go to Hawaii.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they moved it to Orlando this year. So I really wish it was in Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii.
But wait, you did get to hang out with the mouse, though, right?
Oh yeah, I got to spend time with them a little bit.
But you know what? Orlando is the Hawaii of the East Coast.
We even got to learn and perform the haka before the game started too. So it was a great experience.
Well, at least they tried to bring a little bit of Hawaii to Florida. I am so sorry. I did not realize that. So my bad on that. So what is the draft process like now for you?
So right now it's just nothing but training about 2 times a day, Monday through Friday, and then a training session on Saturdays. Really, I'll say every day is a grind. You really try to think of, how to get better every day. You're not trying to get complacent, because if you get complacent, some people try to that's when people take advantage of you, take the leap. And so really every day, I wake up, how can I get better from yesterday? It's just constant improvement. But otherwise, it's fun. You get to meet a new meaning of guys, a new level of training, typical from school training. Now everything's really specific, movement specific. You're trying to get your 40 down, trying to get your bench press up. So it's really interesting.
So what's been the feedback that you've gotten here initially from the Hula Bowl, as well as your individual workouts that you've had from NFL scouts?
My initial feedback was, I have the body type of a NFL player. and really they just want to see me, display my speed, my strength, my explosiveness every time. And talking to some scouts, they say they see me really in a 3-4, 4-3, sometimes being an outside linebacker, either dropping the coverage or either rushing the passer. And so they say I really have the body type for it. And coming around pro day, they're going to have me do, a mix of, hand in the dirt D-line and also be able to see if I can drop in the coverage a little bit.
Hey, Ty, I know the right answer is, man, I'll play for any team that gives me the opportunity. But is there a dream team that pops into your mind when you see yourself in the NFL?
Dream team, I'll say the Texans just because it's my hometown. So really, I would love to have my family around me 24/7 if I can.
Yeah, and the Texans could probably use you.
Yeah, it wasn't a good season for this year. So hopefully next year they can turn it around.
So Ty, I this is a little bit of a departure from the NFL and football questions, but we mentioned a little bit how you played for the Warhawks basketball, and I always wonder because I'm from Arkansas State, and every now and then we'll have a football player spend some time on the roster of the basketball team. How does that happen? Does the coach just kind of come down and go, "Hey, I heard you had some hops. We have a position," or do you approach the coach and go? And then what does the football coach think?
So Coach Richard approached my football coach at the time, Matt Viator, saying he was looking for a guy because he had a 6'10" Australian dude leave to play professional overseas. And so Coach V came to me saying, "Hey, I trust you out of everybody else because, you got the grades right. We know you can do it in the spring, this and that." And so, I pondered over and I knew it would be difficult with the playing time because, you have all those guys on scholarship. They've been in the program way longer than me. But I figured it was a great opportunity because playing two sports, you really get to work on things you don't really get to work on football. So, explosiveness, constantly moving, jumping. The conditioning was way different. I'm not gonna lie to you on that. I was tired the first day. You can ask Coach Richard. I took myself out of drill one time because he said I can. He could tell I was about to pass out from all the running.
Yeah, you kind of forget how much up and down the court you have to do. And you're a big guy like yourself. It's probably more aerobics than you're probably wanting to do, right?
Yeah, I was used to going in one play, waiting about 30 seconds for the next play happen. But when it came to practice the first day, I think we were moving constantly for 30 minutes straight, no break. And I was like, yeah, I'm not used to this yet.
So during your 4 years there at ULM, what was really the big highlight that you would say that you have, your biggest memory that you have?
I say this year, especially the win against Liberty, I say they really kind of turned away. Coach Bowden is really turning the program around, and you can really tell that with the game from Liberty. Big upset. I think we were 31 points underdogs, 23 points underdogs, one of the largest wins in college football history. So I say that's really the most memorable for me and the most fun I had in a while, just knowing that this program is constantly on the rise. And I know he will be able to get it done.
I know the Cajuns is a big school rivalry, but what is one other school that you will not miss happen to play against?
I'll say Arkansas State. I think within my Arkansas State for sure. Within my 5 or 6 years, playing against them, we've been close sometimes, but they always got the upper hand. So I'll give it to Arkansas State. I would not miss them at all.
There have been some massive, high-scoring games against ULM and Arkansas State the last few years. So yeah, that's a pretty good answer. Yeah, Arkansas State has managed to be on top of those, but they've always been close, hard-fought games.
So now that you're an alum, though, of ULM, how do you see yourself kind of giving back to the university, whether you make it into the NFL, one of the other leagues, or even you're just Ty Shelby, former Warhawk?
Really, I see myself coming back, being able to talk to the students, engage with them, either from being, a student athlete or just a student, trying to give as much knowledge as I can, learning from all the professors I can. I graduated with finance, so if the NFL don't work out, I was hoping to become like an investment banker or, a personal advisor. So any way I can, with real world, how the draft process goes, anything that can actually give back to student athletes or just students would be very beneficial.
Have any of the other guys kind of reached out to you? I know you played with Marcus Green, who had a little stint there in the NFL for a while. Any of those guys reached out to you?
I haven't talked to Marcus in a while, but I've talked to Derek Gore, Josh Johnson, too bad for Derek right now because I just saw that they just lost. So I was rooting for him the whole time. I really just been trying to get advice from him, seeing how the process goes. How can I separate myself from competition? And so really, the main thing is just keep going, just keep fighting. You never know what's going to happen. Derek was telling me, man, I was cut 3 or 4 times before I found the right team that was able to bless me with this opportunity. So really, just capitalize on the workouts, the individual sessions, and just keep believing in yourself. In most things, because you never know what can happen if you don't believe in yourself.
Ty, we thank you as always for taking a break there from preparing for the NFL and stopping by the FunBelt podcast and talking with us about your experiences.
And we'll definitely be listening for your name in April when the NFL draft comes up.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
So there we go, guys. Getting ready for the NFL draft. As he had mentioned, Derek Gore played at ULM after transferring in from Alabama.
Yeah.
With the Kansas City Chiefs, really making a big name for himself this year, especially late as they got ready for the postseason run that they had. You never know who's going to be that next guy that can really step into that role and excel and make the name for the Sun Belt Conference.
And it seems to me too that ULM always seems to have a surprise guy that gets into the draft, like just guys that show out in the combine or the scouts have always been looking at, and you just don't really like. I can't tell you how many times I've written who's going into the NFL from the Sun Belt column, and me completely overlooking Sun Belt or ULM guys that get drafted and then do well in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that's across the board, because even when Will Lutz was drafted to go to the Saints, I remember that Georgia State happened to be in town at ULM for a baseball game, and the SID was scrambling to get that story put together because that's not who they expected to be drafted.
Absolutely not. Yeah, so it's really crazy.
Well, and he initially got the call from the Baltimore Ravens, when Justin Tucker was holding out to be his franchise guy, and everyone kind of turned their eyes up and said, "Well, he's not going to make that." And but yeah, Sean Payton brought him into New Orleans and had a workout, and Sean Payton said it was the best kicking workout he had ever seen. So shout out to Will. He missed this season with multiple injuries, had multiple surgeries this season, so he spent time on the IR. But wishing him a speedy recovery in the NFL.
But between Lutz and Koo, it seems like the Sun Belt has put in some pretty good kickers lately into the NFL, and maybe we can be known for that in some way.
I'm good with having that niche, as long as you're consistently having guys go into the league and sticking, and they're not there for just that 1 or 2 games and then cut out, or they're just practice squad guys, things like that, because that really helps bring attention to the league.
I don't know if you guys do this or not, but anytime I'm watching an NFL game, I'm always that guy that's waiting for like the team introductions, like during the game where they have the guys come up and they'll say, "I'm so-and-so from here and I'm so-and-so from there." I'm always looking for Sun Belt guys. And I feel like that's always a great advertisement for the conference or for your school, when you have a guy who can say, "Oh, I'm from Arkansas State," or "I'm from Georgia State," or "I'm from ULM." I just feel like that's just a nice thing to have. So I'm always looking forward to the draft. I hope Ty gets his name called in the draft. But that's probably a show that we need to have pretty soon. Would be the prospects from the Sun Belt who have the best chance of hearing their names called in April.
So shifting gears, a place where the Sun Belt has really always excelled in having names called is the Major League Baseball draft. And this year is really no different. We're lumping in James Madison because they are coming into the Sun Belt, hopefully sooner than later. They actually have the number 1 prospect overall in Chase DeLauder, an outfielder, big boy, 6'4", 230, 386 batting average last year with 6 home runs and 7 stolen bases in 26 games. He was a big-time prospect, made a big name for himself there in the Cape Cod League, which is the premier summer league there for college prospects. He could be JMU's first-round pick since 2007. And then the 30th overall prospect, shortstop from Coastal Carolina, Eric Brown, another guy that was in the Cape Cod League, small guy but big bat.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Are you one of these guys, Dusty, that actually sort of monitors the baseball draft as it happens? I know that you have a history with Houston, so you probably have a big baseball mind. Do you find yourself fascinated with the baseball draft?
I've always been a prospect person, more so than who the stars are currently in Major League Baseball. I love seeing the guys that are undrafted or drafted very late and low, and seeing them work their way all the way up from the old rookie ball days all the way through AAA and then getting their Major League call up. That's the stories I always love. Those are the memorabilia, the cards that I always like collecting, are those guys before they were stars. So I do keep track of it from that standpoint. That is definitely the bigger interest point that I have in baseball.
Ben Moore, do you keep track of the Major League Baseball draft?
I do pay attention to it. Certainly living in Georgia, there's just tremendous high school prospects, and we've seen organizations almost even shift. So I think it's certainly an opportunity for teams in the Sun Belt to grab top tier talent and show them a path, certainly to Major League Baseball draft. You're seeing more and more teams who want more finished products too. You want guys that have some college experience and obviously have some impact there. No, obviously with COVID, you shrunk the Major League Baseball draft. It looks like they're going to shrink that again. So you have kind of twofold. You have more opportunities for some guys to stay in college, which certainly improves the conference, and then you see that top tier talent potentially leave and go. But yeah, with Metro Atlanta and certainly Georgia being so strong, I do keep an eye on it. There's always a handful of prospects in Georgia that are always mentioned to be high picks. So I do keep an eye on that. Of course, keep an eye on who the world champion Atlanta Braves grabs.
I always have to put a plug for the world champion Atlanta Braves. I get it. I understand. So with baseball season coming up, Dusty Thibodeaux, we should probably have a big baseball podcast pretty soon.
Always. And then, not to be outdone, softball is also right around the corner, literally starting within the next week or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Extra Elite 100 players, which is done by Extra Innings Softball, also came out. Handful of Sunbelt players on that list as well. Troy's Leanna Johnson came in at number 66. South Alabama's Olivia Lackey at 71. Texas State's Jessica Mullins at 90. And Louisiana Lafayette, Kendra Lamb at 97. Guys, we knew that this was going to be a good softball league, but this is just driving home that point.
Well, the Sun Belt is in that sort of footprint of being able to play sports like baseball and softball for longer periods of time. So it's almost natural that the Sun Belt should have a good softball community. Am I right? I mean, that's why you don't see the MAC with a great softball history. I mean, the Sun Belt, it should be strong. It should be a great baseball conference. It should be a great softball conference.
And it's only going to get better with these teams coming in particular, James Madison and Old Dominion. I think those are two big time programs that add to baseball as well as softball. So the league's only going to get better.
Are we sure Old Dominion's coming?
As far as I know, it is. I know that the big rumor mill this past week was all the presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors meeting with Ben Moore there in Atlanta.
Whoa!
I was telling them, wanted to see where they were going out to eat lunch in my fine city.
I bet it was Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Ben, where's the scoop?
Well, what's interesting is everyone seems shocked by the fact that James Madison was moving forward. That decision actually was made in November, because when they presented it to the Board of Regents there in the state of Virginia, they said, that this move was going to happen by July 1, 2022. So the cat was kind of already out of the bag, but many folks reading that fine print, I have just been fascinated by the balance and the battle really from Conference USA. They want those exit fees. They're waiting for them. Even some of the schools that are not leaving Conference USA are out there looking to see when folks are going. But it seems to be, at least for now, the leaning is that the Conference USA teams, Marshall and Southern Miss and ODU, will be staying for one more season in there. But I think the biggest question that I have is, we know we're probably about a month away from the Sunbelt football schedule, annual unveiling in March. What happens, right? You have existing, crossovers, as Jared Binko told us last week. You're not going to be basically bump the non-conference once those are set, because you have contracts and things that way. What does that do to the Sunbelt scheduling? Do you have JMU play a half a schedule, or are they going to go and grab just a few teams? It's going to be very interesting to see. Do you keep it regional? Do you go and you say, all right, well, they're going to play Coastal Carolina, App State, to kind of keep it on the east there where they're slated to go. So I think there's a lot of questions, and I don't think a whole lot of those questions were answered this week in Atlanta.
Yeah, when JMU was announced that they were just going to go ahead and enter now, nobody seems to be, at least from the Sun Belt, seems to be acting like this is much of a logistical problem. Did you get that feeling, Ben? Like people are just kind of like, yeah, all right, they're in, but how do you make that work?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Especially we were talking a little bit earlier with the non-revenue sports, right? More of these ADs want these bus trips. They want, travel partners, as most folks have gotten travel partners around the league. JMU coming in there by themselves, they're not going to have a travel partner necessarily. So to see them kind of by themselves, it's not a super easy place to get to either. There's no major airport there. You typically are flying in and then taking a bus. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what actually happens and what happens to their existing, kind of their in between this transition year, right? We talked about it logistically. Also, what does the staff do? Because they've got to move from 63 scholarships that the FCS allows to 85 scholarships at FBS. You got to have a plan for that. Certainly App State and Georgia Southern did when they moved up. So interested to see what the Dukes do there as well.
There's a lot of questions to be answered. The rumor mill was that everybody except for James Madison would be in, and James Madison would just happen to play a heavy Sun Belt Conference schedule. Doesn't look like that's actually going to come to fruition, though. It looks like it's going to be that one more year of kind of the lame duck in Conference USA, with James Madison transitioning to be a 1A independent. But that's the move that they had to make anyway in order to join the Sun Belt in 2023.
Yeah, it looked like to me, Dusty, that and Ben, that the Conference USA, they sent out a statement pretty much saying, hey, we expect these guys to stay on for the remainder of 2022 and not leave until 2023. And they seem pretty resolute about that. But yet I'm kind of sensing that there is still a chance that these CUSA programs end up migrating to the Sun Belt sooner. Do you guys feel like there's any chance at all of that happening?
Never say never.
Answer to all your questions is money, Jeremy. We'll see. We'll see what happens on the financial side of things.
Well, since I've never had any money, of course I can't understand that.
You have checks, you have money.
I've bounced a few.
Plugs, promos, parting shots. What do you have there for us, Ben?
Yeah, with the recent winning streak from basketball, there's a little glimmer of optimism again. Not so angry on our site, previewing that. And as Dusty and I know, this used to be a national holiday, right? The first Wednesday in February used to be a day off work, a lot locked in and focused, and seeing who the latest crop of signees would be for your favorite school. That's not the case really anymore, as we know with the early signing period, but there's still folks that are their scholarships still out there, and folks still looking, and of course, monitoring the transfer portal. So we're covering recruiting, and also the 2023 offers are flying every direction as the staff is pelting the state of Georgia right now. So all over it over here at PantherTalk.com, and looking forward to a big week.
Yeah, HalRazor.com. I believe that Arkansas State is trying to put together a fairly big National Signing Day brouhaha on the 3rd. So I might be in Jonesboro for that. And then for the next day, we entertained Thibodeaux's second favorite basketball team, ULM Warhawks. So I'll probably stay for that and be firsthand to check out their this underperforming Warhawks team and see how they do. So yeah, that Hellraiser will be on hand, and look out for the stories.
WarhawkReport.com, as you said, it is National Signing Day coming up. Kind of a flop of National Signing Day for ULM with the limited scholarships expected to be used more so for transfers over the summer. So not really an exciting time like it typically is for National Signing Day. Ben, we'll do our best to recap the Sun Belt across the league next week for top signees at all the programs, as we do celebrate that a little belated on FunBelt podcast. Other than that, guys, San Marcos once again rolled out the maroon carpet. It was fantastic. Love the school. Love the downtown area with the bars, restaurants. Viva la Boobcats.
Viva la Boobcats.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.